like full control. I would hope she's in full control, but I don't know because I'm hearing some stories about donors that are pushing things. I'm hearing about the pressure that's even happening with planning this event.
That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
Joe Rogan just blew the lid off something massive, and if what he's hinting at is true, this whole Charlie Kirk case could explode in ways nobody's ready for. Out of nowhere, Rogan came out defending Candace Owens. Yes, that Candace. The same one people mocked for months, calling her a conspiracy nut for daring to say the feds were hiding the real story. But now that Joe's co-signing her, the internet's losing its mind. And what he's suggesting, it's way darker than anyone expected. Rogan flat out said that the story we've been fed about Charlie's so-called random murder just doesn't make sense. Not even close. He hinted that the truth might involve people a lot closer to Charlie than anyone ever imagined. Candace has been shouting from day one that something's being covered up, and now fans think she might have been right all along. Because the latest whispers, they're pointing straight at Charlie's wife, Erika Kirk, who's allegedly been playing quiet but strategic, moving behind the scenes to protect whoever actually pulled the trigger. Ever since that night, her behavior has been nothing short of strange, from her awkward energy around Trump and JD Vance to how fast she seems to want the public to move on like nothing ever happened. Something in this whole situation just feels off, and Joe Rogan might have just cracked the first piece of the puzzle. So here's where things get wild.
Disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not gonna fit. Not gonna fit.
In a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs?
It's been almost 2 months since Charlie Kirk was taken out, and somehow we're still no closer to the truth. Every time it seems like we're about to get answers, another twist drops out of nowhere, and now Joe Rogan, of all people, just stepped in with claims that flipped everything upside down. Everyone knows how Candace Owens has been trying to warn us from day one, saying there's more to this story than the headlines ever showed. Well, looks like she wasn't lying this time. The feds have been lying right to our faces, protecting the real shooter the entire time. That's what Candace Owens has been saying from the start, and everyone laughed at her for it. They called her a troublemaker, a conspiracy chaser, someone who doesn't know when to stop. But after what Joe Rogan just said, people might actually owe her a serious apology. Because the deeper this goes, the more it looks like Candace was right all along, and the lies go way higher than anyone thought. Candace was the very first to sound the alarm right after the shooting. Within minutes, she tweeted about a suspicious military plane that had mysteriously landed in Utah just before Charlie Kirk was taken out.
You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet, jumps off of the roof and lands, whether or not he's even the guy who shot him. Maybe he thought he was gonna shoot him. Maybe he...
Yeah, you heard that right. A military plane. She got louder and bolder with each passing day, calling out federal agencies directly and accusing them of hijacking the investigation to keep the truth buried. She said the feds swooped in, took the entire case away from local cops, and shut everything down before anyone could even blink. And honestly, her logic made sense. If they really wanted to catch Charlie's killer, why didn't they blast out every photo, every video, every lead like they always do in other cases? The internet could have cracked it in hours. But no, they went silent, locked up the files, and told the public to move on. That's when Candace started looking closer at the people around Charlie, and all signs pointed to one name, Erika Kirk. Candace didn't call her out directly at first, but she started dropping subtle hints that Erika might be way more involved than she was letting on. In one clip, fans swear they caught Candace shading her, implying that Erika wasn't really the one making the big decisions, not even when it came to Charlie's own memorial. She made it sound like someone else was pulling the strings behind the scenes, and people felt that tension instantly. But the biggest bombshell came right after the memorial.
Like full control. I would hope she's in full control, but I don't know because I'm hearing some stories about donors that are pushing things. I'm hearing about the pressure that's even happening with planning this event. And nope, you're right. You got me. I was not invited to speak alongside President Trump and JD Vance on the stage with Tucker Carlson at a memorial event.
The one where Erika publicly forgave Charlie's shooter. That moment had everyone's jaws on the floor. Then Candace dropped a tweet that turned the internet upside down. Be very wary and suspicious of the people already telling us to stop asking questions about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Boom! That was the moment people started side-eyeing Erika hard. Because get this, less than 2 weeks after Charlie's passing, she was suddenly announced as the new CEO of Turning Point USA. 2 weeks. For a widow supposedly deep in grief, that move looked cold and calculated. People were like, you couldn't even wait until the man was in the ground? And it didn't stop there. Rumors spread fast that Erika inherited Charlie's entire estate, reportedly worth over $12 million, and that Turning Point itself started pulling in millions in fresh donations right after his death. With Erika sitting at the top of it all, yeah, that's a major conflict of interest if you ask anyone. And then there was that now infamous entrance at the memorial, the dramatic spotlight-heavy walk down the aisle that fans—
That young man, I forgive him.
compared to a full-on WWE-style performance. Seriously, go back and watch that clip. Was that grief or was that a production? You tell me. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because something about this whole setup just doesn't sit right. Fans aren't the only ones side-eyeing Erika Kirk anymore. Even Joe Rogan seems to be raising an eyebrow. From the looks of things, he's not buying the official story at all. He flat out said that none of it adds up, and he's backing Candace Owens on this one, claiming there's way more going on behind the scenes than what the public's being told. On his show, Joe broke down the entire timeline of what went down on September 10th at Utah Valley University, and he didn't hold back. He asked the hard questions, the kind that no one in authority wants to touch. Remember that older guy, George Zen, who screamed that he was the shooter and caused total chaos when police arrived? Well, Joe did his homework, and what he found made everyone's jaw drop. Turns out dear old George has a wild past, and not in a good way. We're talking multiple run-ins with the law, bomb threat reports, clashes with police, and even some mysterious 911 calls that never made sense. So what are the odds that this same guy just happened to be on site right as Charlie Kirk was taken out? Joe's like, come on, something's off here. But Rogan didn't stop there.
Rifle, and then you say, oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it. Like, okay. If I wish I was a cop, I'd sit in a room like, this story is horseshit. Like, none of these things make any sense to me. It's all part of the plan. If you want people to lose all faith that—
He went deeper, questioning whether the so-called shooter, Tyler Robinson, was actually guilty at all. According to Joe, it's entirely possible that Tyler was set up to take the fall while the real culprit walked away untouched. His words sent chills through his listeners, because if that's true, it means the entire case could have been staged from start to finish. And this is where things take an even darker turn. Rogan started echoing a theory that Candace Owens has been pushing since day one, that to truly understand what happened to Charlie, we need to look at what he was doing right before the attack, because apparently Charlie was shaking things up at Turning Point USA and not everyone was happy about it. Just days before his passing, Charlie reportedly sent out an internal memo demanding a full audit of the organization, where a deep dive into Turning Point's finances, every transaction, every account, every payout. Basically, he wanted to know where the money was going and who was secretly cashing in. That memo sent shockwaves through the upper ranks of the organization, and insiders now say that Charlie was getting pushback from people he trusted most. 8 days before he died, he even told his team that he'd personally instructed Turning Point's chief operating officer to launch that audit. No delays, no excuses. He was ready to expose whatever was lurking beneath the surface, and now, looking back, that decision might have painted a giant target on his back.
Anyone is going to solve anything. Yeah. You had a bunch of— if you're going to kill a guy, you had a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit like that.
You have an old man put his out and yell, I did it, I did it.
Yeah, you—
8 days before his death, Charlie Kirk ordered that audit, and that's the exact moment when everything started to unravel. Insiders say he was restless, pacing his office late at night, calling private meetings and double-checking documents himself. He wasn't his usual confident self. Something, or someone, had him spooked. According to one staffer who spoke off the record, Charlie had started locking his office door even during the day and stopped eating the catered food brought in for Turning Point union executives. That's how paranoid he'd become. Joe Rogan highlighted that on his podcast, saying, "That kind of behavior only happens when someone knows they're being watched or threatened." And when Joe said that, you could hear the silence in the studio. Nobody laughed, nobody interrupted, because deep down, it made perfect sense. Charlie wasn't just running a political group. He was controlling a multi-million-dollar empire with powerful donors, controversial connections, and maybe even a few enemies in the shadows. Candace Owens had been digging into that same angle for weeks. She kept saying that Charlie's internal audit might have exposed something ugly, maybe illegal payments, maybe off-the-books donors, maybe names that weren't supposed to see daylight. Whatever it was, Candace believes it was big enough to get him silenced. And now, after Joe Rogan publicly supported that theory, more people are finally taking it seriously.
Get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and you
boyfriend is a
talk to him on
furry?
Discord. I think he's involved. There was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who...
Let's rewind to what happened just days before September 10th. Charlie was reportedly preparing to meet with two key financial officers at Turning Point's Arizona headquarters. He wanted full transparency, even demanding a breakdown of every single dollar spent on the organization's political operations. Some people close to him warned him to back off, that certain deals had already been approved at higher levels, and that poking around could get messy. But Charlie didn't back down. In fact, one insider claims his exact words were, "If something's not clean, I'm gonna make it clean." Now, here's where Erika Kirk comes back into the picture. Candace Owens later suggested that Erika wasn't thrilled about this sudden push for an audit. As Charlie's wife and one of the faces of Turning Point, she stood to lose a lot if the organization took a hit. Sources say she told him the timing was terrible and that he needed to trust the team. But Charlie didn't trust anyone anymore, not even the people sleeping under his roof. He told a close friend that he was starting to feel boxed in, that conversations were getting too quiet, and that someone inside Turning Point wasn't who they said they were. Joe Rogan dug even deeper, pointing out that in the week before Charlie's death, several high-level employees suddenly resigned or took emergency leave. According to Rogan, the timing was suspicious, all within 72 hours of that audit announcement. One employee even wiped her company laptop before turning it in. When questioned, she claimed it was a glitch. Sure. By the time September 10th rolled around, Charlie had apparently shared his concerns with two outside consultants.
Starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? Took his pants down? This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits,
He
this
called
guy.
in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. Right after, so
Both of whom have now refused to speak publicly. Candace Owens, though, says she's seen proof that Charlie was preparing to move certain Turning Point funds into a secure account for review. That move might have triggered someone to act fast. Here's what Joe Rogan said next that got everyone talking. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to see a setup when it's right in front of you. They said this kid Tyler Robinson pulled it off alone. No way, no motive, no trail, nothing. Meanwhile, every piece of evidence that could link to a cover-up disappears within 24 hours. That's not incompetence, that's coordination. He's right. Within one day of the shooting, federal agents reportedly took over the entire case, confiscated local police files, and restricted media coverage. News outlets that tried to question the official timeline got flagged for misinformation. It's like someone hit the switch and made the story vanish overnight. And yet, people on the ground that day remember things that never made it into the reports. Students from Utah Valley University shared videos showing security officers rushing into the wrong building right after the gunshots. Others swore they saw someone in uniform walking calmly away from the scene, not panicked, not running, like they knew exactly what was happening. One student even said the person carried a badge that didn't match any known local agency. Candace Owens jumped on that immediately. She went on her show and said, "If that doesn't scream inside job, I don't know what does." And the clip went viral instantly. Millions watched it within hours because the footage matched the timing Joe Rogan had just discussed. Two completely separate sources connecting dots the authorities refused to touch. But what really had fans freaking out was Erika's reaction afterward. While most people close to Charlie were still in shock, she appeared calm, almost collected. At the memorial, she spoke about moving forward.
somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, "I said that he took it apart and then put it back together again." Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
This is
Forgiving the shooter and continuing Charlie's legacy. Admirable words, sure, but to many, it sounded rehearsed like a PR speech. And right after that, she was promoted just like that. New title, new power, new control. Joe Rogan called that move the fastest career upgrade in political history. He even said on air, when the widow of the victim becomes the boss of the organization he was about to audit, that's not coincidence. That's control. You could almost hear jaws drop across the internet. And the timing lined up too perfectly. The audit Charlie ordered, it vanished. The documents he supposedly signed, gone. Even the internal memo he sent 8 days before his death, no one's seen it since. The only proof it existed are screenshots shared anonymously by someone claiming to be part of Turning Point's tech team. That whistleblower's account has since been deleted, along with every post they made. So what are we left with? A timeline full of holes, missing evidence, and a growing sense that Charlie's death wasn't random at all. Joe Rogan said it best. If this was just some lone shooter story, it would have been solved by now. But it's not. It's tangled, political, and dirty, and the silence tells you everything. Now, the question everyone's asking, what did Charlie Kirk find? What was he about to expose that scared people enough to take him out? Some think he uncovered secret payments from foreign donors. Others believe it was about certain politicians using Turning Point to launder influence money. Candace Owens even hinted that a foreign intelligence group had ties to the case, but she hasn't dropped names yet. Meanwhile, Erika continues to play the part of the grieving widow turned CEO, showing up at galas, posting quotes about strength, smiling in interviews, but fans aren't buying it anymore. Every time she appears on camera, social media detectives freeze the frames, analyzing her body language, zooming in on her expressions, comparing her tone from before Charlie's death to now. And the internet consensus? Something's not right. Joe Rogan wrapped his segment by saying, "I don't know who did it, but I know who benefited." And that line hit like a thunderclap, because when you trace who gained power, who got the money.
Assemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not gonna fit.
Not gonna fit in a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? Like, you're telling me that this kid
Who silenced the questions. All roads seem to lead back to the same place. And maybe that's why people are starting to believe Candace Owens was never crazy at all. Maybe she's just been telling the truth. Loudly, fearlessly, and way before anyone else dared to. Whatever Charlie Kirk discovered before that September night, it scared the wrong people. And it might have cost him everything. That audit Charlie ordered, the one he never got to finish, was meant to launch a full-scale Doge initiative aimed at boosting efficiency, cutting unnecessary costs, and finally cleaning house inside Turning Point USA. But behind that fancy corporate language was something a lot darker. What Charlie was really doing, according to people who worked there, was preparing to expose a massive internal shakeup. And when he suddenly passed, those plans vanished overnight. After his death, several former employees started reaching out to Candace Owens, claiming there were shady financial dealings happening behind the scenes, secret transfers, ghost accounts, money that just vanished into thin air. Some even said Charlie's audit would have revealed that over $40 million had gone missing. $40 million. You don't just lose that kind of cash. And as Rogan and Candace both keep reminding everyone, when something doesn't add up, follow the money. Because this story, it goes way deeper than most people think. The billionaire donors backing Turning Point USA weren't writing those checks out of kindness or patriotism. Their money always came with strings attached. And somewhere along the line, those strings got pulled a little too tight. Candace even dropped screenshots of a private group chat where Charlie vented about being pressured and manipulated by these same mega donors. In one of the leaked messages, Charlie allegedly wrote, "Just lost another huge Jewish donor. $2 million a year in because I won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." That message set the internet on fire. Some called it fake. Others said it matched Charlie's tone perfectly. But what really shook people was that some of the donors named in those threads were big names. Real billionaires, not just random investors. One of them, Bill Ackman, the same man who reportedly staged a private intervention for Charlie just weeks before the tragedy in the Hamptons. Now here's where things get really suspicious.
First of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet, jumps off of the roof and lands, whether or not he's even the guy who shot him. Maybe he thought he was going to shoot him. Maybe he's a
Reports claim that after that private meeting with Ackman, Charlie confided in friends that he felt like he'd just been blackmailed. According to Candace, Charlie left that meeting furious, pacing, paranoid, saying something didn't feel right. And hours later, she tweeted, Charlie Kirk was fighting with some very powerful billionaires that he took money from over things he was discussing. The pressure on him was immense, and she didn't stop there. She followed up with another cryptic message. Over the next 2 weeks, the truth will be revealed. The messages will be leaked, and the movement he built will rise up. Those words sent shockwaves through the political world. What messages? Who was leaking them? What truth was about to come out? Candace then reposted another tweet from a whistleblower account that claimed Charlie was on the verge of losing his last major donor because he refused to ban Tucker Carlson from Turning Point events. Apparently, certain donors wanted Tucker blacklisted due to his outspoken takes, but Charlie wouldn't budge. He stood his ground, saying he wouldn't let money dictate free speech. That resistance might have been the last straw. Candace captioned the post with a scathing line that went viral. There are a lot of people shedding crocodile tears. The billionaires must be exposed for the frauds that they are. That tweet alone got over 20 million views and nearly crashed X overnight. People were split, half praising her for speaking out, the other half accusing her of crossing the line. But Candace wasn't backing down. She kept pushing, saying she had more receipts and that the truth is inevitable. She tweeted again, "They're lying." But rest assured, these people were deranged enough to put their anger and demands in writing. And sure enough, a few days later, more screenshots appeared, supposedly showing private threads where donors threatened to pull every dollar unless Charlie fell in line politically. That's when Joe Rogan stepped in again. On his podcast, he said, if Candace has those receipts, this whole thing's about to blow wide open. You can't threaten a man, corner him, and then act shocked when the world starts asking questions. And just like that, the conversation exploded again. Fans connecting dots between Charlie's
Arrived a moment when Charlie felt that the money was disappearing. He felt that, again, according to sources, that the company was burning through cash too quickly. And Charlie set about finding out why and how this was happening.
Audit, the missing millions, and the billionaire pressure campaign that might have pushed him over the edge. Everywhere you looked online, people were asking the same question. Was Charlie Kirk trying to expose the very people who funded his empire? And if so, did that make him a target? Because from what's being pieced together, he was standing up against billionaires who don't like hearing the word no. And once you mix pride, power, and politics, someone's bound to get burned. And in this story, the only one who ended up silenced was the man who dared to question the money. Joe Rogan didn't hold back when he said, "Sorry guys, you murdered my friend. You unlocked the Inigo Montoya in me. We're not stopping until we get to the bottom of this." He meant it. Rogan insists Charlie Kirk was pushed to the edge, pressured, intimidated, and silenced. And now rumors are swirling that betrayal might have come from even closer to home, from Erika Kirk herself. People haven't ignored Erika's family ties either. In a 2020 interview, she admitted her mother worked with Homeland Security and the Department of Defense. So when Candace Owens claims the government's fingerprints are all over this case, fans are connecting dots, and they're not liking what they see. Then there's the viral hug with Donald Trump, that way too intimate moment at Charlie's memorial. Viewers called it weird, off, even flirty. And just days later, clips of Erika and J.D. Vance at a Turning Point rally had people whispering about a secret romance. Her saying she sees Charlie in J.D. only made things worse. Now fans are questioning how the supposed grieving widow is suddenly so close to the very people accused of hiding the truth. Between the missing millions, the shady audit, and the silence from the feds, this doesn't look like grief. It looks like strategy. So who's really protecting the shooter? And how far will they go to bury the truth? Drop your thoughts, hit like, subscribe, share, and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.